At the beginning of the year, we learned what an entrepreneur really is. So, the three things that I took away from this lesson was an entrepreneur is very creative, they're not afraid to fail, and they use their failures as learning experiences to learn and better their business in general. And they're brave enough to think outside of the box and think of new ideas for their customer basis. So now we talk about intrapreneurship, which is different than what we previously talked about, which was entrepreneurship. So as an intrapreneur, you are a part of a organization or company that is already established and you're finding new ways to innovate or change that. So if you see a problem, you're trying to find ways to make that company or business better. Having a growth or fixed mindset is a huge deal as an entrepreneur. So if you have a growth mindset, this means that you pretty much see every failure as an opportunity to grow and become better. And if you have a fixed mindset, you get very stuck in the line of failure. You just beat yourself up about it and you see no chance of improvement. Having and maintaining a growth mindset is one of the most important parts of becoming an entrepreneur. Every business is going to have failed or have some sort of setback, so you might as well use your growth mindset to learn from those mistakes and look at how you can better your business rather than getting stuck on them and just staying in that rut of failure. Self-leadership is the key to the entrepreneurial mindset. It's connected to all portions of your life and pretty much influences all of your behaviors and your actions. Becoming an entrepreneur, you're required to know exactly what motivates yourself and what gets you out of bed in the morning and how you deal with conflict. So practicing self-leadership will help you know yourself better and hopefully better your business as well. Failure is something every entrepreneur will face in their career, but how they respond to the failure is the biggest tell-all if their business will be successful or not. Every entrepreneur says that you should go in anticipating failure because if you keep that growth mindset, the failure that you have will help you then improve your business in the end. A fear that entrepreneurs and a lot of people in general struggle with is the fear of being told no. But throughout this class, I've learned that if you put yourself out there and ask questions, you really could be opened up to so many more opportunities than if you just stayed quiet because you were afraid of being told no. As an entrepreneur, you're selling yourself, so you really do have to put yourself out there to grow in your business. Design thinking is innovation that brings together what's technologically feasible and economically viable. So it's a little confusing because it's only a tool for entrepreneurship and not actually entrepreneurship itself. So you use this when you're trying to build on new ideas. And the company IDEO has actually been using design thinking for the past 20 years and they've been extremely successful in it. A pitch deck is used when you're trying to pitch a new product or a company. Throughout doing our own pitches, I learned it's super important to have little words, a clear vision, and a super detailed plan so that the audience can clearly understand what you're trying to get the message of and so they can understand what you are trying to pitch. Our social capital are our personal social networks. It's a huge productive asset, especially when being an entrepreneur. When owning your own business, it truly is the people that you know that will help you grow it. And so the more social capital you have, the bigger your business can grow and become. Jumping off of social capital, we learned how important social networking is. Before taking this class, I knew networking was important, but really not to the extent that it is. I learned that you should always take any opportunity you can to meet people and to make connections with them because you never know down the road how they'll help you out with your business and help you grow your company. Both in class and in our textbook, we learned about how important a first impression is. We learned that within the first 20 seconds of meeting someone, you actually develop a first impression of them. Being an entrepreneur, you are the face of your company, and your company pretty much goes with you wherever you go as well. So you want to make sure that you're representing yourself and your business well at all times. Throughout the semester, we learned about the 5 different types of customers, which include the end user, someone who's going to use the product, an influencer, someone who has a large following to influence people's purchase power, a recommender, that's someone like a blogger or an expert in the industry, and then an economic buyer and a decision maker. In Chapter 1, we looked at how entrepreneurship is a method and not a process. It used to be thought as a process, and there would be 10 steps that, if followed correctly, they said that your business would be more successful. But the more people looked at it, they saw that entrepreneurship is so nonlinear and unpredictable that you really can't have step-by-step instructions of how to succeed. When building a brand, the most important part is your name and logo. You want something visually appealing that your customer will remember each time they see it. You also want to make it clean and crisp so that it looks trustworthy, trendy, and that you look like you're in the know. Looking at successful companies, we can all match their logo to the name very easily, so that is the main goal when trying to build a business. Knowing your customers is key to having a successful company, brand, or organization. It's super important to know how your customers feel about your company in comparison to competitors and if they feel that they could have an emotional connection to yours as well. This is where surveys come into play, and it's super important to know your customer's opinion on your brand. When we think of sales, we think of someone trying to hardcore sell you on a company or idea, but really, soft sales is more important. It creates a more genuine and inspirational pitch so that the customer can create an emotional attachment to your brand or idea. When selling, 90% of your presentation should be about the customer and their needs, and 10% or less about you. In class, we talked about how the number one thing when making a website is to make sure that it's accessible. If your website is not accessible, when your customer types in your product or service, it'll directly take them to a competitor's site. You also need to make sure that your website is aesthetically pleasing, make it look professional, and make sure it's easy to use so that the customer has an enjoyable experience while on it. During this semester, we got to dive into our Clifton Strengths Assessment. This is an assessment that gives you your top 5 strengths. I think this is so important when being an entrepreneur because you need to know how you work and how you're going to deal with conflict, failure, and success. It's also very important to know your coworkers' strengths, to know how you can work together and how you can better each other. In conclusion, I really enjoyed taking this entrepreneurship course. It made me realize how truly interested I am in becoming an entrepreneur myself, especially becoming a social change entrepreneur. I'm really excited to see how I can push myself in taking more courses like this and how I can grow and become an entrepreneur myself one day.